But there is important that you have this flow going through the campaign, right? So some people are probably gonna want to like rush to the new stuff, like rush to the new acts, because they want to see Act 4. They want to be the first ones to see Act 4, right? And some people are gonna be rushing to the end game because they want to see like the new items on the high end in the end game, right? But there are so many things, like there are so many new things that we need to explore and we need to try to understand as good as we can. Because that's what it's all about in Path of Exile. I think you kind of like have to try to understand all the tiny little pieces in the machinery. Because if you understand as much as possible, you're gonna understand what's gonna be a good idea to do in certain situations, which is gonna make you more efficient. It's gonna make you basically better at the game. So my question, so I'm just completely sidetracking here. It's just so much to think about here and to digest, and we are not even in the freaking new content yet, right? We're just reading about what's coming. Okay. Anyway, so what I was thinking about with King's March is that, is it gonna be similar to PoE 1? Like, is King's March gonna be similar to PoE 1? Are we gonna have, because they aren't saying anything about it. They're just saying you have to go to King's March, hire a ship, and get the heck out of there, right? Question is King's March gonna be functioning the same way in Path of Exile 2 as in Path of Exile 1? So in Path of Exile 2, Path of Exile 1, you have a bunch of different things that you can interact with. Like a bunch of mini mechanics, sort of, that you can interact with inside the city. So if you, in Path of Exile 1, want to kind of like focus on trading and focusing on like, so the way that you're getting your materials and your gear and stuff, or like the only way pretty much to get certain materials and certain items is to engage in the King's March mechanic. So this I'm really interested in seeing if King's March is actually, if they are just kind of, so they are not shadow dropping King's March into Path of Exile 2, but I'm not sure if they are just like, yeah, King's March is going to be there, but let's move on to other content, because that's kind of like how I feel the developers can be sometimes. It's like, yeah, King's March, we've seen it. So King's March is in there, we've seen it, we know what that is, we just, okay. But the thing is that King's March, if it's working the same way in Path of Exile 2 as in Path of Exile 1, that's going to be its own mechanic in itself that we can be engaging with. We can grow crops, or can we grow crops? Like, is it going to work like this? Can we get the runes? Are we gonna have the encounters out in the world that's gonna give us the ores that we need to do those mechanics? Are we gonna have the rogue mechanic? What's it called? Disenchanting? Are we gonna have the disenchanting? Are we gonna get the thaumaturgic dust? So that's things that, like, it's really unclear if we are actually getting. Okay, so is it gonna be similar to PoE 1 or just yeah, kind of like stop on the road to end game? So is it going to be just a city that you need to go to hire a ship and get to the next, to get to the interludes? Sorry, not the interludes, but like the rest of the island, surrounding islands? Or is it actually gonna be a freaking like are we are we potentially gonna be getting like the first act where there's gonna be more than just like certain zones we need to go to and fight bosses to get these like permabuffs and passive points and stuff like this, kind of like how it is in 1, 2, 3? Or is Act 4 actually gonna be like a really chunky act with a bunch of content, a bunch of stuff to do? Let's keep reading. Discover Ngama Archipelago, home to the Karui tribes. From the pristine beaches to the Wakapanu Island to the volcanic shores of the Isle of Kin. There are 8 islands to explore, each with its own dangers and, of course, bosses. Act 4 is completely non-linear, and you can visit the islands in any order you choose. Okay, this is really cool. This is really cool. It's 8 new islands, bro. 8 new islands. 8 new islands. Are the islands, like, are there gonna be multiple islands per, no, sorry, multiple zones per island? Because if that's the case, it's just like Act 4 isn't just 8 different zones. It's 8 different islands with multiple zones in them. Okay. Really like a very, very small, very, very small note right here on the Act 4. And on the interludes, I mean, it's even smaller. Interludes is even smaller. But okay, so let's before we get ahead of ourselves here, because it's so easy to just like sit down and freaking like just run through the entire thing. But let's talk about like the thoughts that I'm getting with every single like point here. So the fact that you can do like these islands in different order is really, really cool. What I'm really, really interested in uncovering also is what the different bosses of the different islands are actually doing. Like, or what we're actually going to be getting. I mean, there are going to be boss fights. That's really cool. There are going to be new boss fights that we're going to have to learn, which is really cool. Really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to that. Probably gonna be struggling with a bunch of them, but just like encountering them is gonna be great. Encountering them for the first time and figuring out the mechanics is, yeah, it's so cool. Okay. But one big question I have about Act 4 is like if the islands are gonna have multiple zones in them, or if it's basically like 8 new zones. we have the interludes. So basically, interludes, this marks the end of the cruel difficulty, or it marks the removal of the cruel difficulty from Path of Exile 2. We have introduced 3 new temporary interludes, a set of side stories that will take you to level 65, where the endgame begins. Yep. I mean, it's... So here's the question: the side stories, like, so is there not any more information about like the interludes? So I really want to see like more information of the interludes, because just like it's like 2 sentences. It's like not even 50 words about this. So we did check out in an earlier video, we did check out the interludes. Or we did check out some information about the interludes. So there's gonna be... So how I have understood it, it's so we are getting the new act, right? So we have the act 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? But we are not getting act 5 and 6. So that's why we are getting these interludes kind of like instead of them. But does that mean that there is an act 7? Because I don't know if I've heard anything about like that there is gonna be an act 7. Because there are 4 acts, so we are getting 1 new act, but we are getting 3 interludes. 3 interludes. Does this mean... yeah. So kind of like 3 new mini acts, right? But does this mean 7 acts at full release? Don't know a lot about these interludes. We don't know a lot about them, so it's going to be really interesting to learn more about them. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Explore new content. So I'm going to put like 1 up here. We're going to put a 2 down here. I'm going to put a 3 down here. And I guess we're moving on here to the next, because we don't have a lot of information of the interludes. Like, interludes are gonna probably be really interesting, but yeah. Okay, but focusing on this, the new content here. So what else can we have a look at when it comes to like, yeah, okay, so new content and features. Yeah, so there's a bunch of like gems and stuff. So that's basically... Okay, let's hold on. New... So I guess this is gonna be new items. So there are gonna be new skill gems. Okay, so added a new strength skill gem, Fortifying Cry. Perform a war cry that grants guard and causes subsequent shield attacks to release an empowered shockwave when dealing damage. This skill's cooldown can be bypassed by expending an endurance charge. Okay. Okay, so I'm guessing, yeah, that war cry. So basically like a warrior gem. We also have the new Forge Hammer. That's also a new strength skill gem. Forge Hammer. Hurl a fiery hammer that slams into the ground and lodges there. While the hammer is lodged in the ground, reusing this skill recalls the hammer and resets the skill's cooldown. Alternatively, using a warcry near the lodged hammer causes it to shatter, releasing a number of molten fissures in a spiral. Okay, so this is what we've been seeing. This is what we've been seeing in the in like the videos, or yeah, what we saw in GGG Live. So this was a thing that looked like super interesting. Actually, my dudes, yeah, we're just gonna exit here right now. Super interesting. So you are throwing. Actually, you know what? Let's start the game again. Never mind. So you are throwing this hammer in the ground, right? You're throwing it, and it gets stuck in the ground, right? That's kind of like the thing, right? But if you use a certain war cry on the hammer while it is stuck in the ground, it releases these fiery spirals. Molten fissures. Bro, I think that looks really cool. Like, it looks really cool. Looks like something that I want to try. So new gems. Really cool. Like the forged hammer. Hammer looks really cool. I'm just gonna log in here so we don't have to listen to this like startup menu music. Okay, yeah, the forged hammer looks very cool. Like, I really think this looks cool. There is another additional strength skill gem though. It's the Ancestral Cry. Perform a war cry using glory gained by igniting enemies to turn you into an embodiment of calm. While embodying calm, your footstep trigger volcanic steps, melee strikes and slams are ancestrally boosted, and your melee attacks hits trigger volcanic eruption. Bro, that's really cool. So, but do we have to ignite the enemies to turn into the embodiment of calm? I'm not sure if... Oh, no. Hold on. Perform a war cry using glory gained by igniting enemies. Okay, so it's gonna be all about the igniting for that skill, I'm guessing. It's going to be all about igniting, because you're gaining glory from igniting enemies. Okay. Yeah, but that seems really cool. Like it's a skill gem that's like really gonna transform. Like really gonna transform yeah, your experience of the gameplay. Which I think is really cool. Okay, so there is a new dexterity skill also, the Toxic Domain. Create an area of toxic bloom on the ground around you. While in the bloom, you have increased skill cost, regenerate life, and your projectile attacks attach a toxic pustule, which can be poisoned. Pustules will detonate after a duration or when enough poison has been applied, dealing damage and applying poison in an area around it. Yeah, so Toxic Domain. That's also like, that one skill in itself is like doing, feels like it's doing more, kind of, than just like the regular gems that we already have in the game. So it seems like it's going to be really interesting to actually be trying, like we're incentivized to actually try these new gems. So I haven't felt like I've been incentivized to actually try the new gems. That hasn't, like, obviously I have been trying different gems on the different characters, like different skills on the different classes. But it's more like, up until this point, it's been more like, yeah, okay, if I find something that's like working, I'm just gonna stick with it, and I'm gonna keep building on it. Right? That's kind of like how I've been kind of like approaching it up until this point, basically. But this seems like it's gonna be more of like they're gonna be leaning more into like the specific skill itself, especially like these new added ones. These new added ones are gonna be more of like you can potentially build like a build around one skill, leaning more in that direction, and I think that's really cool. That's really cool because it makes it a lot more fun to actually start over, you know, start a new class, start a new character in a specific class, and you're kind of like thinking, yeah, okay, so I don't want to be doing like this, I have to do this same type of combo. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking when I'm starting the Invoker now for 0.3. When I'm starting the Invoker, I'm kind of like thinking, yeah, I'm going to be doing the exact same build. Like, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. So, like, I'm going to play Stormwave, right? Because that's what that's what I've been practicing, right? So it's going to be basically it's gonna be Falling Thunder and Stormwave, right? That's the stars of the show of that build. The Falling Stormwave Invoker, right? That could be a name. Or Stormwave Invoker, basically. So what this makes me think about is like each skill, like building around, because like I really like my Stormwave. Like that skill I really like. I like Falling Thunder. But it's like it's those two skills, and I mean also obviously the Killing Palms, because that's generating the charges that I need for making Falling Thunder more powerful with these like fissures, the Crowfoot Fissure. But being able to focus way more into one skill, I think it's a good idea. So instead of like having these skills be like in between, like you have, so to make the Stormwave Invoker work, right? I need the Stormwaves, I need the Killing Palm, and I need the Falling Thunder. That's like the 3 skills. So I could make that build with only those 3 skills, right? Because they are what actually make up that build, right? Also, basic like Quarterstaff attacks, and also I'm doing some Tempest Flurry, but like the Tempest Flurry is not doing it for me right now. Like I'm not doing that a lot, to be honest. It's like, yeah, I don't want to press that button type of thing. But I want every skill to have the potential to be like a one skill, all out focus on the one skill. I mean, obviously you are gonna add some stuff, right? You are gonna do some other things, but there's gonna be like this main skill that you're gonna be using. And all the other skills are kind of like supports. So obviously you have your support gems in your like preferred main skill, right? You're gonna have all your supports, but the other skills like are gonna build around the main skill type of thing. That's how I want it to be. And it feels like these new skill gems are like, they are so interesting, or at least they look very interesting. Hopefully they're gonna feel good to play as well. But just like experiencing or trying to build something around a single gem like this, build around it, seems much more feasible now. Okay, let's move on, my dudes. I mean, we have to keep reading here. There is another dexterity skill. It's the iced tip arrows. Ready your active bow or spear, empowering your next barrageable bow or projectile spear attacks to create ice fragments on hit. This skill's cooldown can be bypassed by expending a frenzy charge. But is this like a buff skill? Ready your active bow or spear, empowering your next barrageable bow or projectile spear attacks, create ice fragments. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm guessing we're gonna have to have a look at this in more like detail when we can actually try it. Like, this is not something that's making me like super hyped, but yeah, we're gonna have to have a look at it. Okay, so also added a new intelligence skill, Frost Darts. Conjures a number of icy projectiles that launch towards the target. Projectiles that hit a chilled or frozen target create chunks of ice that deal additional damage on impacting the ground. Consumes a cold infusion if possible to cause each projectile to lodge into the enemy, then explode. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Kind of interesting, and